Okay, we're going to do Genesis 25 and 26 today. I'm a day behind, so I'm going to do a short one on 25 and 26 and a short one on 27 and 28 so that I can catch up and you can catch up, because it's okay if we fall behind. We just do the work and jump back in. So let's talk briefly about Genesis 25 and 26. We're following Isaac now. Abraham passes away, and the first generation of these men of God is done. But it hands to the second generation. And the first thing that's noticeable to me in 25 verse 21 is it says that Isaac's married. He's got this beautiful wife who we've already heard about. But it says that she was barren and that he had to pray to the Lord for the promise that we already know he's going to inherit, because it was given to his father that he would be the father of many generations. Now, Abraham ended up having one son of promise in Isaac, which doesn't sound like the many. And so we know that the many are coming. And yet, Isaac's here with a barren wife. So it says he had to pray. He had to fight for the promise too. There are so many promises over our lives that are coming to us, but we have to fight. We have to engage our faith and trust and ask and believe and contend sometimes for the promises. It doesn't mean they're not coming. God's not good to us, that we are not going to receive them. It just means we have to engage in them and line our faith up with his word and trust and ask and fight in the pursuit of the promise to align our hearts with his. But it says the Lord granted his prayer and Rebecca conceived, and we know that she went on to have twins who the Bible tells us are kind of at war with each other. And the reason there is tension between them is because they both want such different things. Jacob understands the concept of spiritual blessing, of birthright. It was a powerful concept in these days. Birthright was attached to your birth order, and there was something special about the firstborn. That firstborn would receive a double portion. And Esau comes out first, but Jacob is consumed with a knowledge that that means that he doesn't have that birthright, and he wants it. He understands that spiritual blessing is so important. Esau, the older brother, wants the physical things, food and comfort and safety, security, the things that we can see. And that division in our lives is one that we have to fight all our lives long, of like the draw to the things that we can see and touch and trust that are material in our lives, and the knowledge that there is something much bigger and more important and eternal that we can fight for. But we choose every single day. What are we prioritizing? What are we putting first today? What is it that we're going after and chasing down? And the thing is that they represent kind of two halves of man. The fact that we can want the things that we can see, and we're drawn to the things that we can't see. But those two things are at war within each other. You know, the Bible talks about the spirit and the flesh, and you kind of see that in Jacob and Esau, the spirit and the flesh wrestling together. But we also see two different approaches to life here. Jacob wants something so much that he's willing to scheme to get it. And Esau doesn't want something enough, which means that he becomes a bit lethargic. Maybe he's not willing to contend. And I think sometimes we have to pray as we're following God and ask him, are there things in my life that I want too much and I'm not willing to trust you to bring them to me? And are there things in my life that right now I don't want enough and I'm not really putting the effort in to pursue things that you've promised me that I'm not really asking for? So we have to just check in on some of these things. There's so many dualities to this story, but where do we want the physical? Where do we want the spiritual? Where are we actually selling out our spiritual birthright just to get something that is going to make us feel good for a temporary time? And then also, what are the things that we want too much and what are the things we don't want enough? But going on to Genesis 26, God gives Isaac a warning. He says, do not go down into Egypt. He has to remain in the land of promise. He has to remain in the land that God promised his father Abraham. And then God promises Isaac the same thing. He repeats the promise for this family. He says, I will give you people, place, and a purpose. And if you're a part of Freedom Church, you'll recognize that language, that we want to help people find their place, their people, their purpose. It's a part of the the promise that we see God give Abraham and Isaac and soon Jacob as well, that he's going to give you a place to call your own, a people that will surround you, and a great blessing that will come. This threefold blessing over Abraham finishes with, I will be with you and I'm going to bless what you do. I'm going to lift up what you do. So Isaac is trying to settle, trying to find his place. And we see this moment with the wells where he's trying to find that fresh source, that living water, but the people of the land keep filling in the wells and saying, this water is ours, you can't have it. And water in the Bible represents this life. It's a life source. Think about the arid desert that Isaac would have been living in and traveling around. Water was vital. And he had to dig to get it. And I think for me, in summary, for these two chapters, I'm reminded that sometimes we've got to dig to get the good things of God. He's a good Father and he wants to give us his presence and his blessing, but there will be times where we have to dig for it and reopen the wells. We have to pursue what it is that God has for us. And sometimes we can perhaps just expect that we'll always feel God, or we'll always sense him with us. But actually, sometimes it requires our digging, it requires our carving out of time, our prioritizing of worship and prayer and time with godly people. We've got to dig those wells to find that life source. And that's exactly what Isaac had to do. Is he tried to reopen some old wells, but when he wasn't able to, he had to dig some new wells. He had to prioritize pursuit of this source of life, which we know is Christ. He is the living water. Sometimes we've got to dig for it. So that's 25 and 26. Let's come back to 27, 28.